Hi, a very warm welcome to you, Aurobindo जी. Thank you so much for taking out time. तो जैसे कि हम हर वीक आपसे बात करते हैं हेजिंग को लेकर और आपके व्यूज को हमारे जो हेजर्स है काफी लाइक करते हैं और इंडस्ट्री भी लाइक करती है. लास्ट टू लास्ट वीक एमआरआई में भी आपको सुना. इट वाज प्लेजर टू लिसन यू देयर. जितना डिटेल्ड प्रेजेंटेशन आपका था, आई थिंक इट वाज एडिंग अ लॉट टू ऑल ऑफ अस. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर दैट ऑल्सो. तो मैं
Thank
ज्यादा
you.
टाइम ना लेते हुए एक चीज जरूर पूछूंगा. ये अभी जो मार्केट में चल रहा है, जो करंट ट्रेंड में व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन मार्केट इज दैट market is started taking a clue, like the entire profit booking or the entire things are out of the silver fall, silver profit booking, silver prices. So how real is this correlation? जो fundamentally अगर बेस मेटल में बात करें तो क्या सिल्वर इस रैली को ड्राइव कर रहा था क्या?
Yeah, thank you, Swapnil. Good question. Common question that many people are actually asking कि जब हम इंडस्ट्रियल मेटल्स ट्रेंड को देख रहे हैं या प्रीशियस मेटल्स कर रहे हैं या इनफैक्ट एनर्जी प्रोडक्ट्स में भी जब काम कर रहे हैं तो एक जनरल टेंडेंसी हो गया टू लुक एट परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ सिल्वर. It is not by the traders, not only by the traders, the hedgers, the manufacturers, every part of the industry has actually been looking at how silver is performing. And silver has been actually stellar performance, हम सबको पता है. और हमने देखा $120 प्राइस जाना इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में, इंडियन मार्केट में 400,000, 4 लाख रुपया जाना. और जिस हिसाब से रिएक्टिव मूव्स भी हुआ है वो भी एक टॉक ऑफ द टाउन हो गया. और 4 लाख वाला भाव जो है 2,25,000 होना बोले तो रिटेलर्स में हैव बीन लिटिल कॉट अप इन द मूव. और जो स्मार्ट है वो प्रॉफिट बुक कर लिया हुआ होगा. तो इस व्हाई वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट सिल्वर इज दैट समहाउ सिल्वर हैज बीन टॉक ऑफ द टाउन एंड सम पार्ट ऑफ इट्स इम्पैक्ट on the industrial metal is also very much visible. Take an example, after gold and silver, many talked about copper last couple of months. And if you see the performance of other metals like aluminum, zinc, lead, nickel, everything has actually moved in unidirectionally, one-sided upside. And as the silver prices started to correct very quickly in few days of time, all other metals also fell. So just to remember the numbers, हमने $120 सिल्वर देखा, 4 लाख रुपया सिल्वर देखा, जो इंडियन मार्केट्स में 2,25,000 हो गया. तो अगर हम कॉपर को रेफर करते हैं, so we saw a high price of 14,500 and it came down to almost $12,500 and now it is hovering. Okay. So similar movements have happened. So it is ideal to look at silver performance as one of the indicator while studying or looking at other metals. तो हमको ये समझना होगा ये होता क्यों है. बिकॉज ये जो इन्वेस्टमेंट फ्लो है, ETF investment flows, yeah, hedge funds flows, yeah, any sort of investment that is coming into commodities market, it is not just coming into gold or silver, it has somehow moved into industrial metals also. As we look at the CFTC report from the US, as we look at the COT report from London Metal Exchange, so very good amount of participation by the speculative traders fraternity has actually entered in the market, and the good amount of profit booking also has been observed. तो अभी हम रिसेंटली अगर देखेंगे कॉपर हो या लेड हो या जिंक हो, जितने भी स्पेक्युलेटिव बाइंग या हेज फंड्स या इंस्टीट्यूशंस पार्टिसिपेट किए थे, काफी हद तक दे हैव डन अ प्रॉफिट बुकिंग आल्सो. And similar movement also we have seen in silver. So the common factor to link between silver to other metal is basically one one participant, that is institutions inflow and outflow. That is why it is important to look at how silver is performing, and in reciprocal to that how others metals can actually move in tandem with the silver market. But to end the answer of your first question, key the volatility of silver that we have seen or observed in the past or likely to see is going to be lesser of than the other metals, or going to be more of than the other metals.
Ji, thank you. So, as you mentioned about the correlation, I would like to understand, lot of things, lot of flows are happening on account of profit booking. So, how significant is the part of, fund positioning at this point of time, and
Yeah.
overall?
जैसे मैंने अभी बताया, आई hinted about it. Let me talk in detail about that. So, like I mentioned, we look at CFTC number. Take an example of a very small, less volatile commodity, lead metal. Lead as a commodity, it typically moves based on its fundamentals. So on the lower side of the price, recyclers will jump to buy the scrap metals and give it to refiners and make productions. And that is why you see a floor of price with around 1900 to $1950 per metric ton, those who track LME lead prices or those who are into lead prices. On the similar lines, when it moves closer to $2100, then there is a huge amount of supply comes and demand starts to fail also. बट ये एक बैंड है, और ये मैं इसीलिए समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा था कि लेड एज सच ए कमोडिटी, इट हैज आल्सो बीन impacted by the इन्वेस्टमेंट फ्लो बाय द इंस्टीट्यूशंस. सो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि जैसे हम गोल्ड, सिल्वर, कॉपर, एल्यूमिनियम में ट्रेड इनफ्लोज देखते हैं बाय द स्पेकुलेटिव इनफ्लोज through the institutions, that is also kind of having an impact on the commodity like lead as well. So trade inflow outflow by the ETFs, hedge funds, or institutions, it is very important to look at how the trend has been. So for instance, as we speak about lead, there the market has been a steady trend, but there is already an inflow. That is the reason we saw lead prices moving to $2,100. And that inflow has now become net outflow. That's why it has come down to 1950. So it is very easy to correlate. Same logic, if we look at it now, if we see the latest data of copper, since mid-December, so almost now 1.5 months, the ETF inflow has been net seller in copper, which you can comprehend that we saw a price of $14,500, or in Indian markets we say record high prices. From there, copper prices भी नीचे आए, ETF inflows के जो प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी देखने को मिला वो प्रॉफिट बुकिंग हुआ, और कॉपर भी नीचे आया. सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू लुक एट how the non-physical players participant is playing an important role in the underlying commodities. तो जो भी hedgers हैं उनको अपने फंडामेंटल्स के अलावा ये जरूर देखना पड़ेगा कि इंस्टीट्यूशंस के पार्टिसिपेशन कैसे रहा है. जी.
जी, शुक्रिया। तो आपने बहुत अच्छे से समझाया। कॉपर के बारे में पूछना चाहूँगा, जैसे आपने बता ही दिया कि न्यू हाइज़ के बाद कॉपर रुका हुआ है, रेंज बाउंड है, 2026 में क्या लगता है? व्हाट डू यू एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम कॉपर? एंड व्हिच आर दोज़ ट्रिगर्स व्हिच एज़ अ हेजर एंड पार्टिसिपेंट वी शुड ट्रैक?
Very interesting phase. I'm closely tracking copper on a day-to-day basis, and on a from the upstream to downstream industry players. I talk to them, understand their views and our views. We express thoughts. Very interesting. We had seen copper prices going to $14,500. At that time, many had expected to go to $15,000, $16,000, $17,000, but it did not happen. And very quickly, we saw, like silver, it crashed down to $12,500. So $2,000 movement of commodity like copper on an underlying price of $12,000 is a very big movement. Okay. Very big movement, around 15-20% of movement happening in a 1 to 3 days time. That means what? If it was only driven by fundamentals, then this kind of movement you will not expect or you will not observe. That means there is a some sort of function of uh, investment flows, function of hedge funds players or ETF flows is adding value for such kind of volatility in the market. So now, if you understand the perspective, at 14,000, was there real demand for copper globally? I can comprehend saying that except China, the rest of the world was little fragile of taking a fresh positions at 14,000, 14,500. So that means physical demand was very poor. So it came down. As it came down at near 12,000, $12,500, we have seen sharp jump in the cathode imports from China. There is one indicator everyone tracks globally is the Yangshan copper import premium. which surged immediately in the month of December till now from $20 to $37. That means a lot of Chinese players have done bargain buying around $12,500. And that copper has now come up to $13,000. Now, the question here is it is a tug of on the higher side of the price, the demand is poor. From the lower side of the price, the floor is taking support because of good amount of bargain buying is happening. तो अगर हम बात करें कि आगे चल करके कॉपर में होगा क्या, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल नेक्स्ट कपल ऑफ वीक्स फ्रॉम हियर मार्केट कंसोलिडेट करेंगे. अगर कंसोलिडेट करेंगे तो क्या रेंज मेंटेन करेंगे? we'll maintain a range of let's say 12,400 $500 in Indian dollar terms, एंड ऊपर की तरफ 13,500 $13,600. आगे जाकर ये क्या वो $14,000 बन सकती है? डेफिनेटली बन सकती है, क्योंकि उसका स्ट्रक्चरल डिमांड भी अच्छा है और सप्लाई टाइटनेस फ्रॉम दी रॉ मटेरियल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से जो हम बात करते हैं कॉन्सेंट्रेट और टीसीआरसी मार्जिन नेगेटिव, वो सारे फैक्टर इम्प्लाई करते हैं. तो व्यू इज टू टेल यू स्वप्निल इज दैट वी आर bullish on metals, especially on copper, but the kind of bullishness that it has to happen, it will take its own time to move. So we aim to look at $14,000 at LME.
Yeah, thank you. So, aluminium is also important commodity for us, and you track that very well. So, would like to understand, usually aluminium prices are driven by green premiums and, energy demands. So, how do you, energy cost, I'm sorry. So, where do you see the prices going now for 2026?
Somehow, on a larger perspective, if I have to say about aluminum, it seems to be having a very good positive potential. And uh, I mean, needless to say, and regardless of having a view, we aim to see another 10 to 12% rise in 2026, which is primarily be driven by the energy cost. As of now, we have seen oil prices globally have been steady. Of course, last week we have seen some sort of recovery in the oil prices, but on a larger scale, more than the energy demand, aluminum per se itself is expected to see some sort of tightness in the supply side of it, and uh, expecting an upside of 10 to 12%, meaning at the price of $3,000, we are talking about $3,400, $3,500 kind of upside view for aluminum. So I think after aluminum, after copper, aluminum is one such commodity we might see a good amount of movement in 2026. So one quick recommendation to the industry is that those who do the tendering business for any sort of projects for aluminum related projects, so they should either go for booking their tenders or pricing the tenders or book their LME forwards or fix at MCX, so that the pricing is better for the coming 6 months, 1 year from here.
Thank you. We have one more or two more questions. Please allow us. So we assume we understand that zinc fundamentals are mixed with tight supply. Is that correct? Number one. And do you expect zinc to outperform in this kind of
Uh,
situation?
I think the year has begun with a bit of change in the fundamental structure. Earlier, we were talking about supply uh, balanced with slightly surplus, but now seems like a bit of tightness is building up in zinc. And the supply tightness building up is indicating to slightly upward trend to the zinc market. And we are actually aiming to see some more upside, which does not mean very robustly bullish. And the first quarter of this calendar year has just begun, and we are around $3,350 at LME, and probably all the kind of price upside movement that we had seen 3,500 last week or so, we might revisit that very soon. But on a very personal note, if I would say, I don't see zinc prices moving beyond $3,600. So from the house, we will keep a band upside, but not beyond $3,600 for zinc as a commodity to look robustly bullish. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, one last question for the day. Lead is at multi-month lows. What do you expect? With lunar holidays thinning and Asian trades, and so do you think Western markets we'll see the speculation, or it will be a less activity? How do you expect?
So generally, a lunar holiday in China is a big event for the Asia, China, and the whole world looks into it. And generally, China will go completely mute. So there generally two things happens. Before lunar holiday, they do stocking, or post lunar holiday, once the market opens, they become very aggressively active. So this year, if you see pre-lunar, we have seen surge in the prices. Most of the commodities, not only lead, most of the commodities, we have seen a good amount of rally. So what may happen is that uh, uh, pre-lunar buying may not be there. So if that is the case, then post-lunar buying can happen. And if that is the case, the rest of the world probably will, in the absence of Chinese market, generally we have seen speculative activity happening in London, in CME, and profit booking taking place. And you will see haywire performance. Now, as far as coming to lead as a commodity, as I spoke in the earlier part of the session, that whenever it comes down below 1950, $1,900, then a lot of recyclers, they just jump in, collect the material and use it for refining, so that the demand for scrap increases and makes the underlying lead prices higher, and that drives the lead prices up above $2,100, and then the demand starts fading. सो जैसे आपने इसे क्वेश्चन पूछा कि अभी $1,950 के आसपास चल रहा है और मल्टी मंथ्स लो पे चल रहा है, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हम लोअर साइड ऑफ द बैंड में है, उसमें थोड़ा सा बार्गेन हंटिंग करना चाहिए। और रिस्क रिवॉर्ड रेशियो पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से अगर देखें, $2,000 जैसे कमोडिटी में अगर $100-150 का अपसाइड हम अगर बात कर रहे हैं, तो रिस्क रिवॉर्ड रेशियो इज ऑल्सो वेरी प्रेफरेबल। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि वन शुड लुक एट either booking a forward for future buy, or if you are hedged against your inventory, you can take a risk of unwinding a bit of short positions, number two, or procuring the raw material based on your requirement of your trade. These three things, which implies that आप लेड में थोड़ा सा डाउन साइड जो है लिमिटेड लग रहा है। जी सर।
Thank you for the fantastic view on lead also. This guide, this session will be very helpful for all the users. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।